Going to start in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, hello everybody. We are officially starting this webinar. My name is Jesus Vázquez Negron. I am from an organization called Organización Boricua de Agricultura Ecológica, which is an agroecological organization based in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. I'm also part of the political commission of La Vía Campesina at the Caribbean region, and it's an honor to be joining us, joining you in this webinar that we are calling Land Agroecology and Peasant Identity, the Experience of Young People in Nicaragua. This webinar has been organized by the organization Friends of the ATC and also Nicaragua Solidarity Campaign. And I'm just helping here to give a quick welcome and also be in solidarity with our brothers and sisters from ATC Nicaragua, from whom we learn every day about their experiences and also stay in solidarity with their struggles. I have a couple of logistical announcements that I would like to share with all of you. First, we want to remind you that this webinar has simultaneous interpretation available for English and Spanish. You can access interpretation from a computer by locating the globe symbol at the bottom of your screen, or on your phone by locating the 3 dots and selecting the interpretation option. I'm gonna say this in Spanish just so that we are okay, but we are going to have interpretation, as we mentioned, in both English and Spanish, and you can check in that global symbol that Zoom provides. Bueno, bienvenidos a lo que es este webinario de tierra.
These are the same instructions in Spanish.
La experiencia de los jóvenes en Nicaragua. Estamos muy alegres de poder contar con lo que es la participación de la campaña de solidaridad con Nicaragua y también con los amigos de ATC. Y les quiero traer algunos anuncios, ¿verdad?, de logísticas que tienen que ver con el tema de interpretación. Queremos recordarles que va a haber interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español, y puedes accesar la interpretación a través de tu computadora bajo un símbolo que es como un símbolo del mundo, abajo un poquito a la derecha en la pantalla. Y también en el teléfono hay un símbolo que tiene 3 puntitos, y ahí puedes seleccionar para escoger la interpretación que mejor te conviene, ya sea el inglés o el español. Y entonces, pues ahí, pues claro, agradecemos también a los compañeros y compañeras intérpretes que nos están ayudando durante el día de hoy y todo el equipo técnico. So we also take a space to thank our comrades from the interpretation team that are helping us, and also the technical team that is making this webinar possible. Thank you.
So shall I start? Okay, so my name's Helen, and at the moment I'm in the office of the Nicaragua Solidarity Campaign here in London. You can see our archives in the background, and I'm drinking some Nicaraguan coffee Here it is, Nicaraguan coffee from Jinetega. And this is our mug. I don't know if you can see it. No intervention in Nicaragua. It's our Sandino mug. It's a big honor and a privilege to be able to participate in this webinar. NSC is a UK Nicaragua Solidarity Organization, and I just realized yesterday this month, September, is our 42nd anniversary. So we were set up as an organization in solidarity with the Sandinista Revolution, but throughout the 42 years, we've continued working with Nicaraguan organizations and social movements that form part of Sandinismo. And where it's possible, making links with equivalent organizations in the UK. We're a membership organization, so we have individual members and we have local groups that are members, and also there are trade unions that are also members. That's all within the UK. And over the past year, we've been collaborating with Friends of the ATC, promoting solidarity with the ATC, and especially IALA. That's here in the UK, and the video and this webinar are part of a program that we've developed with Friends of the ATC. If for participants in the UK, we're a membership organisation, so if you're not already a member, you can join us. Our website is nicaraguasc.org.uk. You can donate some funds. We're very dependent on our members for funds. You can volunteer with us. You can also buy the coffee from Jinetega and a number of other products which are on our website. And once again, welcome to everybody who's participating, and really look forward to this webinar.
Thank you, Helen, and thank you for introducing yourselves and also grounding us a little bit on the work that you guys have been doing. We're gonna pass the microphone to our comrade Erika Takeo, coordinator of Friends of the ATC Solidarity Network.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us. It's nice to have you here with us. My name is Erika Takeo. I am originally from the US, but now I'm based in Nicaragua, part of the International Relations Secretariat of the ATC, and here today in representation of the Friends of the ATC, which is the Solidarity Network with the Asociación de Trabajadores del Campo, or Rural Workers Association of Nicaragua. The ATC is a grassroots organization that was born in the 1970s as a founding member or a part of the what we call the fundamental forces of the Sandinista Popular Revolution. And in the 1990s was a founding member of the international peasant movement, La Via Campesina, which coordinates the IALAs, which we're going to be hearing about today. If you like what you hear today, we invite you through Nicaragua Solidarity Campaign and the Friends of the ATC Solidarity Network to join one of our upcoming delegations to Nicaragua, which we hope to start next year, depending on what the conditions are with the pandemic, where you can see IALA with your own eyes. We also invite you to read our publications available in English on our website, friendsatc.org, and also to join the remaining classes of our Ben Linder Solidarity School, all of which we do with, within the spirit of constructing internationalism. I don't want to speak any longer because today really the idea is to hear about IALA, which is an effort in Nicaragua coordinated by La Via Campesina in the region, but especially by the ATC as one of the member organizations of La Via Campesina. And also give a special thanks to Nicaragua Solidarity Campaign for this collaboration that we're developing so that we continue to spread awareness about this initiative. We did last week publish a really wonderful video about IALA Icchimoleo that features the words of Migdalia as well as Marlon Although in an effort to give more time to our speakers today, what we're going to do is send the link to you all so you can watch this video after the webinar and give more time for our speakers. Thanks for being here. Jesus, we can directly introduce now Marlon and Darwin and Migdalia since we're going to send the video through email.
Okay, all right, thank you, Erica. Okay, so now we take the time to introduce Marlen Sanchez from the Association of Rural Workers, ATC Nicaragua, and Yala, that the pronunciation is very difficult, so I'm gonna ask Erica to help me there. Ishimuleu.
Yali Chimuleo. Marlon will say it too.
Okay, all right. Academic Director, and also Migdalia Cruz from ATC Nicaragua, and Yala Ishimuleu graduate, and also Darwin Hernandez from the National Center of Farm Workers, CNTC in Honduras, also graduate from the Yala Ishimuleu. And also a technical, before you guys start sharing your experiences, we want to ask folks to, while you're listening, please submit your questions using the Q&A function on your screen. We will select a handful of questions to answer when the panelists finish speaking. And also, we want to remind folks to use the interpretation that we have in English and Spanish as we explained before. So please be taking notes, or any question that you want, send it through that function of the Q&A. And now I'll pass it to Marlen.
Buenos días, buenas noches, buenas tardes a todas.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone who's participating. First of all, thanks a lot to the Nicaragua Solidarity Campaign and Friends of ATC. Thanks for giving us this space to share our experiences from the Ishimuleo School. It's in Mayaquiche, so it's a bit hard for some people to pronounce. I'd like to share this experience from the historical struggle of social movements, from the CLOC, the Via Campesina in Latin America. So thank you for this space. This is quite a challenge, and it's great as well. So we can present our contribution.
Ahí está, ¿verdad? ¿Ya? No. Ok, ¿ya? No. Vamos a ver.
Okay. How about now? No. So now it is. So as Jesus and Erica said, I'm Marlon Sanchez. I am currently doing the academic management of this institute. This is for the Mesoamerican region. I'm a member of the ATC, the Land Workers Association, and I grew up in within the movement of young people. So that experience in the young movement and within ATC gave me the opportunity to become professionally prepared for the founding of the IALA Academy in Venezuela. I come from the IALE Paulo Freire in Venezuela, the first. So it's an honor to participate in the Via Campesina process. And of course, this has been a strategy for strengthening our wonderful movement.
Bueno, para empezar, los YALA hacen parte de esta estrategia política de la Vía
So the
Campesina.
YALAs are part of the political strategy of Via Campesina. Via Campesina Latin America, the bloc, has a history of struggle trying to support peasant agriculture against the globalization model that still has the upper hand. So in this, in the history of our progress, we have also set up this space for training youth. So 1 second.
A ver acá. Okay.
All right. So the YALA, Agroecological Institute in Latin America. So they are vital for the CLOC, which is a member of the Via Campesina. It's the Latin American Coordination of countryside organizations. So there are two key things on the agenda: holistic agrarian reform and food sovereignty. These have been on the agenda for social movements coming together in big spaces like the World Social Forum. Also, from those spaces, we've been trying to put together a peasant agriculture with also indigenous people. Workers backed Mother Earth's alternatives faced with the advance of capital. So in the Via Campesina, we have a body of experience. We've been involved in protests. This is part of the situation of colonization of the Americas. So there's been the Green Revolution, agribusiness that have had a big impact. This situation has also offered an opportunity to offer an alternative, showing a peasant perspective involving also social movements and indigenous people. So training in all sense of the word is part of our strategy as a movement. It's capacity building through the schools that strengthen leadership through the working class. As I said, it was very important to have this training So it's not just mobilization on the street, it's also leadership to put a brake on the advance of the World Trade Organization, the WTO, that was having a big effect on policy regarding peasant agriculture. So we want to propose a different production model based on agroecology. So we've developed various training spaces for our activists. At the moment, often universities in many countries have very conventional ideas. They are just geared towards people who are able to access that education. It can be very elitist. People who are trained were there to work for transnationals, agribusiness, industrial agriculture. So it was necessary in the movement to come up with a space for the peasant class. So thinking about the creation of a Latin American center for agricultural training didn't fit in with conventional academic thinking. People thought that schools and education wasn't destined for workers and peasants and indigenous people. This was like a form of heresy in academic terms. People thought this was incorrect. So it was necessary to create an institution dedicated to peasants with a methodology that could work on a peasant-to-peasant basis. We needed Paulo Freire's ideas to be embodied in this institution. We wanted a holistic space for participation to train new leaders and to build up a new political culture in Latin America. So there have been international spaces for reflection and debate. For example, the World Social Forum. In this context, there has been progress, for example, in the Bolivarian Revolution of Venezuela, started with Comandante Hugo Chavez. Chavez is a giant who shared these ideas with social movements. So in these spaces, we shared experiences of education. For example, the peasant-to-peasant methods and the way it was applied in Cuba. So it was developed in Guatemala, and then it was developed further in terms of public policy in Cuba. So this idea of setting up these services for the working class was what came out of that. There were other experiences, for example, in the case of Brazil. Also, training for for the liberation of peoples. Also in Nicaragua, for example, there was guerrilla warfare. There was a process of liberation from dictatorship. In the ATC, we also have experience in this area, so we can broaden the debate on creation of institutions. So each organization made a contribution to setting up this space for training of the peasant class. So many of our peasant comrades are involved in this. They were involved in the first debates, trying to make a reality of this initiative, to have an international center that would never claim to know everything, We have to value peasant knowledge and knowledge of peasant seeds, and it should be linked to the grassroots. We also need to understand agroecology as a tool for resistance and struggle. It's also part of another world. Another world is possible. So the first conversations came through this active team. So Peter Rossett, for example, many of you know. He is a technical member of staff for Via Campesina, and also from people from the NAFT in Cuba, also Fausto. So coming out of these conversations, what were the fruits? The first Yala, the Paulo Freire Yala, which I mentioned, with Chavez heading the Bolivarian Revolution in Venezuela. This gave us an opportunity. We share many ideals with him. So he was involved in creating this agroecological institute as part of the ALBA, the Bolivarian Alternative for Latin America, ALBA. So this institute was set up for officially university education. So we put together a concept of Yalas. So it's a space for political training and professional training in agroecology for grassroots participants from social movements, also peasants, indigenous people, Afro-descendants across Latin America, also professionals from the area of agroecology, but those should be activists, often within the Via Campesina. Now we try to train, we try to share this training for activists with technical skills. They contribute to the struggle to transform society. So there are young people, activists, who are helping to identify a path to achieve social change. So in harmony with nature, independent of local capital, with horizontal power structures, and focusing on human emancipation. So there are some key points, key themes in the training. People's peasant feminism, which is strong in Latin American Via Campesina. Also organizational skills. So young people coming out of these Yalas should be able to strengthen their grassroots organizations when they go back. Also politics and ideology. That's necessary for training the Yalas. And peasant production. This is to broaden the local economy. This is important for local development in our communities. So we have political principles for our training. So internationalism, because these are international spaces. And in such international spaces, there's a lot of diversity. We have a shared struggle against capitalism. That's a struggle that we share, but we are different. We have different experiences. So we seek unity and diversity. And internationalism helps with that. That way we can understand and feel other people's struggles. Work, labor is a vital principle for us too in our training. Work is a way to create, a way to feel satisfaction with what we do, not in the way dictated by capitalism as slaves. And praxis, which is practical experience. And also organicity, so organizational structures. So it's ways to organize in work cells and so on. It's also a way to exercise and put into practice people's power. That's very useful and important in our training. And we also try to encourage social transformation. It is education for integration with humanist and socialist values. Honesty, solidarity, spirit of sacrifice, love as well.
También dentro de en los YALA, la pedagogía de la alternancia.
Also in the YALAs, we also work with the principle of alternation or sandwiching. This means that you have time for face-to-face lessons and also time in the community. We're integrated with the community. So with the classroom lessons, we work on policy and so on, and theory, with people bringing in their experience from where they come from. But then we want to replicate what we've learned there in the communities, taking into account the reality in those areas. So that's community time. So we can use what we learn in the school setting with our communities.
Entonces hablamos, esta pedagogía de la alternancia se desarrolla.
So this kind of sandwich teaching style, the alternation training, mixes those two forms of training. So the young people manage to develop in integrated, holistic way. This strengthens the fight against neoliberalism and agribusiness, and it reduces all forms of dependence and environmental exploitation. So here you see the processes in our schools. So time in the classroom and outside. Here you see some more images of community time. So you see young people, they're replicating actions, activities they've learned. There are people who provide training. Also, people have organized practical activities with peasants. This is in line with the reality they come from. So, here's all the content we've put together, starting from the organizations, and we set up this network of agroecology schools. Paulo Freire started this off. So that was the basis, the root. On the basis of the experience of each area, we set up a YALA, one of these agroecological institutes. Every country should have one. So we've got various of these. We've got in Maria Cano in Colombia. There are 3 in Brazil. We have Sembrador de Esperanza in Chile, specifically for women. There's also the Guarani YALA in Paraguay. There are also agroecological processes in the Peasant University in Argentina. So we have our experiences, of course, in Nicaragua, in the Mesoamerica YALA. So you can see graduates in these images. They've graduated in agroecology, for example, in Brazil there. So you have engineers graduating here. That's what we've seen in the Paulo Freire YALA. As I say, the reality is different in each country. In Venezuela, it was possible to set up a higher education institution. We have support from the government of Hugo Chavez, well, we certainly did have. So there have also been agreements with progressive universities to provide qualifications for young people coming out of social movements. So in Brazil, they are getting technological qualifications there. So in Yala, we're using it as a tool for struggle. And we are fighting capitalism. We want to continue producing healthy food for good living and health. Now, agricultural problems do not have just technical solutions. So there's also a political and ideological element. Also, we need multiple cross-disciplinary approaches. We need participation by local actors, grassroots people. We need this for community development that we want. Of course, this political training is needed to influence the political and economical context in each country. Agroecology is an approach committed to a rural focus. So we have this experience at the Shimuleu school, and we follow the principles in the school, the principles of Via Campesina. So we're consolidating agroecology, trying to train women, new women and new men, as Che Guevara said. We also want to promote humanist values and to boost education as a constant process of training and human transformation and social transformation.
Space for responsibility, a place to teach through production, and for learning in a horizontal way. Our Yala y Shimuleu is accredited by the National Institute of Technology of Nicaragua as an institute for developing technical education focused on the agricultural and forestry sectors. So in our present reality of Nicaragua, it was important for us to be able to have this recognition from the technical sector, from official recognition in terms of technology. So we have developed that recognition in our Yala in Nicaragua. We've had the participation of people from across Central America as well as the Dominican Republic, and a few students from Mexico. Here I'm showing a little bit how our formative program works. We have basic modules, we have technical modules, and then we have what we call transversal modules, which are more of the political and ideological aspects of Via Campesina education. Within the technical aspects, we talk about agrobiodiversity, soil, water, pests, processing of food, and research methods. And in the basic modules, we have computer use, a little bit of economics, local economics, the administration of a farm, having a productive backyard, etc., and then writing technical reports. So those are the basic modules. These are images from our first graduation, 2018, 2019. And then here is our action plan related to the organizational and participative part, the academic part. As IALA, we are regulated by the Political Pedagogical Coordination of Via Campesina Central America. We have a productive and logistical side of our work as well. The productive areas, laboratories, etc. How we can relate to volunteers who come to our school, how we articulate with other IALAs in Latin America, how we exchange experiences. Within the academic side, we're strengthening our peasant-to-peasant methodology, what we call community time, so the period that students spend in their home community and the educational aspects of that, the way that we're improving our study materials, our evaluation methods, and then within the productive area, it has to do with how we manage our productive areas, our storage spaces, our laboratories, our infrastructure, and our technical support. So this is part of our plan for 2020 and 2021. Here, I'd like to show you that since the pandemic began, for our class of 2021, the young people have not been able to travel to Nicaragua because of closed borders. So we have advanced using digital platforms such as WhatsApp and Zoom. We're in the process of strengthening these processes. We've created the platform. Now we're strengthening it. Allows us to give follow-up and keep in touch with the young people who are in their countries so they can tell us how they are doing. And we can learn about how they're working with agroecology in the communities and share information. So these are images of these encounters that we've been carrying out. So these are people who are part of the second class of IALA Ishimuleo. And in this Moodle platform, it's an online platform. So students participate in this platform, sharing their work. This gives the opportunity to be creative. So with the pandemic, we were forced to learn about these technologies and to understand them. And it's actually technologies that work well with young people to connect young people to agroecology and to connect them to the struggle. So this is the presentation I wanted to share with you. I hope that it has generated some understanding, and I really appreciate your time. So I'll cede the microphone to Erica or Jesus. Thank you, Marlon, for this
presentation. I just want to say to folks that here it started raining, so it has been quite dry these past few weeks. So it is a very good news, a blessing that the rescued land that we have within our base and the farms are receiving a little water. And that's happening while we're here in this webinar, and that's part of what we mean by Mystica and by the struggle for food sovereignty. We want to remind folks that if you have questions in mind, to write them and to share them through the question and answer button. And we are taking notes. And we also wanted to say hi to the Nicaraguan embassy, who is saying hello, the Nicaraguan embassy for the United Kingdom, to all the comrades at ATC and also NSC. And it's congratulations, folks, for coordinating this webinar. And also we received a comment from Mariana Benitez, who is saying hi from Mexico City. So we want to encourage folks to keep sending comments and also questions, because we're going to have an open discussion about the questions that we receive at the end. and we're going to pass the mic to Migdalia Cruz, who is from ATC Nicaragua and also a graduate from the Yala Ishimuleu, and also Darwin Hernandez from the National Center of Farm Workers in Honduras, CNTC, and also a graduate from the Yala Ishimuleu. Welcome, Migdalia and Darwin.
Hola, ¿se escucha?
Hello, can you hear me?
El internacionalismo nos
se escucha.
caracteriza y la metodología campesino a campesino nos construye.
Internationalism defines us, and peasant to peasant methodology helps construct us. My name is Migdalia from ATC Nicaragua, and I'd like to share with you what our work has been like in Nicaragua. First, I'd like to talk about Mística. Mística is the moment that we use to reflect and exchange good vibes, to begin a day and to connect with the human beings all around us.
Y nos conectamos
Share
así en
the sense of those things and offer respect to nature and the connection with all of the energies that are around us and begin our day of classes. Hello, can you hear me?
Buen día, mi nombre es Darwin Hernández.
Good morning, my name is Darwin Hernandez, part of the National Center of Farm Workers of Honduras. It's a pleasure to meet you and to share about our experience and our learning process, our formative process as militants of the organizations that struggle for the sovereignty of our peoples. Give me just a second to change slides.
No va. No, no. Me permiten ir cambiando.
If you could just give me a minute to figure out why this is not changing from one slide to the next.
No.
Darwin, hay una flechita ahí en la parte de abajo de tu pantalla.
Ajá.
Si le das ahí, creo que puedes pasar al siguiente diapositiva.
Una flechita, pero no proyecta.
Darwin, you have to look for the small arrow at the bottom of your screen. This is Erica.
Yo puedo compartir desde aquí.
Ah, ok. Si tienes la...
Or if you like, you can continue to talk and I can share the document from my computer.
No. Pero podemos seguir así, sí.
I think we can continue as is.
¿Se ve desde aquí? ¿Se está viendo?
Are people able to see the shared screen?
¿Se está viendo? ¿Se ve?
Inicia, luego lectura. Puedes pasar la siguiente, quiero ver.
Can
Okay.
you go to the next slide, please?
Ajá, colócame la de lecturas matutinas, por favor.
If we look at the slide that says morning reading,
Bueno, pedirle disculpas por el atraso técnico que hemos tenido.
first to apologize for the technical issues. Our methodology is designed in this way to interact at all moments and to build trust. And the morning lecture is the moment in which we study topics which are important to us politically, ideologically, and to study the historical moment that we're in. It's also a time to study the great thinkers that have contributed to the struggle over time. It's also a space in which students learn about utopias, about political economy, and have debates and share and ask questions so that they can become more clear about the context. It's about understanding, not just reading, understanding from different perspectives. Because there's people from different countries, from different realities, Honduras, Guatemala, United States. So it's about debating these readings and compare them to the reality of what we know from our countries. Go ahead, Migdalia. After that, we head into our theoretical classes. According to our study plan, so then we receive classes. The teachers share some of the topics, keeping in mind the existing knowledge which each student has, because of course we come from different contexts and there's a lot of knowledge that we bring to the classroom. So in these spaces, there's lots of exchanges to develop a collective knowledge. To develop a knowledge that's adaptable to the different regions that we all come from. Next, we have farm practice or field practice. Here, I'd like to mention that as we've been talking about since the beginning of this webinar, these spaces are an experimental laboratory where students implement their knowledge in a direct way in order to grow crops. It's a multicultural space. It's technical, but it's also about accumulating experience in each student. So after we have these theoretical classes, then the students head to the field to carry out practice. It's not set up in such a way that the students do what the professors tell them to do, but rather where they implement practices, teaching one another, integrating their knowledge, and creating a diverse setting. In these technical spaces, the students are leading the process of making the school function by becoming productive. because the idea is to then be able to carry out these productive practices for students with their family, with a cooperative in a peasant territory, connecting students, family, community, and territory.
Sí,
Let's
entre
go
los
to the next one, please.
regionales que teníamos, pues la conexión
With regard to regional exchanges, this is so that the Yala student community can get to know the peasant families in the area. So for us, we're in Santo Tomás, Chontales.
Incluso muchos nos prestaban sus animales para hacer prácticas de nuestro Yala y así
This also became spaces where we could carry out practice exercises of what we were learning in the Yala. And this becomes a very important space for exchange and connection between the peasant families that live nearby the school and the students from many countries who are at the school. This is also interesting for the farmers to see how the students work together in a collective way. Of course, we don't go and tell these farmers, this is how you should do things. We recognize the forms and ways that each farmer carries out their farming. And these regional exchanges between the students and the nearby farmers near our Agroecological Institute in Santo Tomás Chontales, we develop a form of research and the territorialization of agroecology in the zone. So as we exchanged with different farms in the region, people saw that just one crop or one livestock species is not enough to be able to survive well in the region. We have to have diverse production. And as we've said, this is a way for us to interconnect our theoretical classes, the practical exercises that we carry out in the fields, with the reality of the territory and the farmers nearby. Here we're able to compare the technical learning that's carried out by universities in the region with the student exchanges that we carry out and the peasant forms of knowledge that make up the peasant agriculture of the zone. So this contributes to the study plan and our learning plan within Yala, because it's not about just learning within four walls. It's about learning with these families, coming to have trust with them. Next, we'll talk about living together. This activity has the function of a cultural exchange, getting to know the different customs, the different ethnicities of each country. Because as you can see in these images, there's people from the Dominican Republic, from Honduras, from El Salvador, from Costa Rica, and our professors there. There's Carlos from Venezuela. So this exchange and living together within our school, this is a broad exchange, but it's also about living together. And as the activities of living together are carried out, we create maps to understand the histories of our different people and how they relate and the distinct context that we come from. So living together becomes another space that we take advantage of. To understand the impact of interventionist policies of the United States, for example, how those have contributed to our history and made us who we are. So we have an agenda where we plan in such a way that the youth can share the context of their countries with the other students. Then there can be a discussion so that students can have a deeper understanding about what's happening in each of the countries that we come from.
Sí, en ese cabe lo que el internacionalismo, donde como la escuela, carácter
So
internacional,
within this, there's the internationalism in which students come together from different parts of America who are part of organizations, peasant organizations that are member organizations of the Latin American Coordination of Rural Organizations, CLOC, and Via Campesina. This is where we have a chance to talk about the struggle for land. Those who oppose international capitalism, where we're able to talk about what liberation would look like. This helps us develop our militancy in an international struggle. To understand how international capitalism acts against our liberty and acts against the possibilities of peasant farmers. We are an internationalist school. We receive students from Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, etc. But it's not just closed to teaching young people from the region, but we also receive interns and students and interested people who want to understand our struggle. That's how IALA becomes a point of encounter for young people who want to find and develop themselves in the defense of our rights, our cultures. This is a formative experience. It's not just about learning, it's about feeling the connection with the struggle of the people in Guatemala, the struggle of the people in Honduras, the criminalization of peasants, the criminalization of those who defend natural resources, those who oppose corporations that extract minerals. So this internationalism is about connecting us with all of the different struggles that are being carried out. Within community time is understood as, okay, sure, we have classes, we learn about theory, political theory and technical theory, and then we go out into the farm and carry this out with all of this militancy and all of these ideas around feminist training, around internationalism. So the idea is to then go out into the communities and to work. And that's when students become researchers in what is taking place in these communities, what is taking place in the peasant movement in Honduras and the peasant movement in El Salvador and Guatemala. So what is the importance of being formed through IALA? It's becoming an agent of change who can integrate and socialize these kinds of knowledge, of the kind of knowledge that peasants have held and is clearly a practical knowledge. As you see, there's people who are over 50 years old that have experience working in the land. So our community time is about exchanging knowledge with these people, documenting what's happening, synthesizing what's taking place, and then we share that information, and that becomes an object of our study that we share and discuss when we return to our school in IALA. Go ahead. Also, if you can see here, that we're sharing in a place in Western Honduras. This is where we carried out our community time when we returned from our courses. So the students decided, they coordinate with, they communicate with the coordinators of their organization. The organization will tell you, you choose where you want to do your community time. If you would prefer to just work in production somewhere, or if you would like to be part of our organizational team on political education. So depending where you integrate yourself as a militant, we don't see ourselves here as technicians. We see ourselves as integrating ourselves into the militancy of our organizations, of our peasant organizations, and of our peasant movement, which is connected internationally. That's where we find ourselves. We're developing solidarity between the peoples.
Pues ahora como egresado del IALA, ya después de habernos formado 2 años en el
So
IALA,
after forming ourselves in IALA, currently I'm supporting the ATC in my department, and I'm coordinating the youth movement, the countryside in my department, and I'm also working within the communication areas. So we're young people who come from the organizations, and we're here to work for our organizations. I come from a peasant family, so I also work the land, and I'm carrying out agroecological practices to improve the production of our food. I'm also continuing to study. I'm studying animal techniques for livestock production. And that way, it connects to our farm animals that we have at home. We have pigs, we have chickens. So I'm part of improving the animal production at my house, as well as being active politically. So to speak about our experience in IALA as a graduate is to talk about not only the experience of the region and the country, but also about the accumulation of knowledge that is present among and within each one of the people who participate in IALA. It's about sharing, researching, everything that's gone into the creation of this IALA, all of the exchanges of skills and abilities about how to work together in different kinds of teams, multicultural teams, multidisciplinary teams. Talking about the experience of IALA is to talk about all of the accumulated experience of revolutionary struggle in Nicaragua, Cuba, the revolutionary experience of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. To mention the professors. The professors are not just Nicaraguan professors. We have Salvadoran professors from Honduras, from Venezuela. To talk about this knowledge and this training process,
¿Cómo aclaro el momento donde tenés conocimientos, pero es entonces confirmar, no encuentro la palabra, pero entonces
I'm
no
not
es
finding the word I mean, but it's about finding one another.
del Estado, un carácter privado donde das una opinión y te dicen que
It's not like a private institute where you give your idea and people tell you you're wrong. It's about speaking and recognizing traditional knowledge, peasant knowledge, empirical knowledge, and recognizing that these are valid kinds of knowledge at the technical level, at the professional level. That's a beautiful experience. That's an enriching experience. It inspires one to continue to learn, to continue to be an active member of an organization, of a movement, and beyond that, to feel the lesson as a graduate of IALA, to have that connection. Because in IALA, you learn about in an activity, in a productive activity, how do you integrate the family? How do you integrate the organizational aspect? How do you integrate everyone who lives in the region? So I don't see this as something that I've learned as an individual, but rather as someone who's part of developing knowledge in collectives, in a collective. And finally, I would just mention we continue to work in the field, carrying out productive activities to grow food, because the essence of this methodology and education is to continue producing food. The road of healthy food for the well-being of our peoples. And finally, thank you to CNTC of Honduras, CNTA of Honduras, and the ATC of Nicaragua. I'm now studying a superior technical degree in agriculture, but beyond that, this is about being defining myself within a revolutionary struggle, within a peasant struggle. Thank you. That was it. Thanks.
Migdalia. Migdalia, ¿me escucha?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Bueno, parece que ahí estamos.
So, thanks, Darwin and Migdalia.
Thank you, Darwin, for that great presentation from the perspective of the most active people in this process, which are the students and those that also finish and keep practicing these methodologies, but also this practicing community. We have a couple of questions. So now we are going into the question and answer section. So we have a few questions that have been submitted by people participating on the webinar. So I'm gonna read them, and Darwin, Migdalia, and Marlene, I would recommend to take note so that you can answer them. I'm gonna say a few questions, and then we can proceed. Okay, so the first one is, how is IALA funded? The second one is, are courses free to students? We have another question that is about, how would you define peasant feminism? What does it mean in practice in IALA training? And we have a question, final question, that says, how popular is Yala among young people in Central and South America? Is it oversubscribed, which we understand as if there is like a waiting list or a lot of youth trying to get in? So those are the questions, and we would suggest if any of you this is an open discussion to answer, or multiple persons can answer the same question. So we promote a discussion, and also we would recommend answers that don't expand from 1 minute to 2 minutes, just considering the time. Thank you.
Ok. ¿Cómo hacemos? ¿Respondo una?
So, shall I answer that one or all of them? Okay. So, on the funding. So, generally, there is international solidarity. We also look at the resources that each organization may have when they send students. So people participating are comrades, so to speak. Darwin's from Honduras. We use our management and some solidarity to provide food and studies. But Darwin's organization provides the ticket to get to Nicaragua. So the costs are shared, so to speak. Also, we share responsibility. It partly depends on the commitment of each organization. So the people participating, we have a specific quantity. So there's internal participation. We have a quota. This is also supported by solidarity. So that's not just what ATC does, but also what is done by the organizations sending students. So people's peasant feminism, how do we define that in the YALAs? It is a banner of struggle of CLOC, the Latin American section of the Via Campesina. We embrace this struggle as part of our training process. It's been built up through experiences and participation of women in the organizational process of the training in the Via Campesina. It's a whole process where women have a leading role, women of the countryside have a leading role, in the same way as men. So women's role is recognized in this struggle. Capitalism doesn't just affect men. It has a massive effect on women, above all. It's been constructed by the practice of feminism, in which participation of women goes beyond the simple struggle for liberation. It's against capitalism and the fight for access to land and commons. So we work together with men against the system. I'll answer all of them, but I think maybe other people could add to this. And I think that would be very useful if they did. So as we were saying, we're a network of Via Campesina schools across Latin America, across the entire continent. We've got YALAs in Colombia, Venezuela, Chile. And we use our political commission of Via Campesina and our communication tools within the peasants movement. we've spread this idea of the YALAs. So in this space, we need to recognize the role played by Erica, for example, with Friends of the ATC. She's played a big role in communication, raising the profile of what we do. And that's been impressive. Great work. With many people working together to raise the profile of our process. Lots of people on the waiting list. Well, yes, there are lots of people who are interested in the process, but the people taking part are people sent by their organizations. It's the organizations coordinated in the Via Campesina and also allies. Those are the people mostly participating in the process. So it's quite an open process for activists. That's it. Can you hear me? So how is the YALA financed? How do students come? It's all about training activists who are active in the movements. They need to have shown social commitment, commitment to the struggle, to the community, and to peasantry. It also depends on the organization's decision. They put people forward, they agree to participate, but people have to confirm their responsibility. At times, maybe it's necessary to pay for your own travel within the country. And then maybe you need someone else to get you the ticket to a neighboring country. So costs are shared for students. And organizations are also making a contribution. Not everything is paid for directly by the YALA. So it's a training struggle, but it also involves international costs. Of course, it's building up individuals. And of course, it's got a specific way of working within each YALA. Thank you, Darwin. I'll use...
I take the opportunity, we received another question that says, are there students from elsewhere than Latin America? Are there students from other places of the world that is not Latin America? And also, Migdalia, if you want to comment on any of the previous questions, we welcome you.
Bien, solo recalcar algo. Nosotros como jóvenes de Aragua, jóvenes del campo.
So we're as youth in the countryside. When we have the opportunity to go to YALA, we can see that it's a great opportunity. There are lots of opportunities in our country. Then we can travel and learn. I was very happy to have this opportunity. Being in a peasant family, I wouldn't have the resources, economic resources, to go and study. So we can get free training that we don't have to pay for. So this is great. So out of respect, we don't always ask where everything comes from, where all the money comes from. But there are always people looking out for us as youth to make sure we're okay. So I studied, I got that training without having to pay. And that will help me move forward in my life. So that's it, really.
Mira, en el caso de si hay
in the case of well, whether students come in from elsewhere in Central America, I'd like to make a comment. So we're an institute at the moment. So sometimes people come in from outside the Latin American region. So for that to happen, the person has to have a great interest. They have to be part of an active member organization involved in the social struggle, involved in agroecology and related issues. So there have been people from Europe, from Germany and so on. So we had Yasmin, someone else from Germany, to mention a couple. Jenny, who is an active member now in organizations. It doesn't have to be a student receiving a diploma. Just people who are interested, who are wanting to support movements in the region where they come from. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Darwin. Marlene, ¿tú quieres decir algo más o estás bien?
Anything more to say, Marlene, or is that all right?
Marlene, I'm asking Marlene if she wants to say something.
Olvidé la última pregunta, creo que no la copié.
I forgot that last question. I don't think I wrote it down. Anyway, participation of internationals from outside Latin America. Yeah.
Fíjate qué casualidad que en esta segunda corte que nosotros tenemos un joven que llegó a través de una organización.
We've got a young person who came from an allied organization from Italy. This person is living in Guatemala, has a great interest in the Yala, and that person is participating with us. So Erica reminded me of this. So we talked about Yalas in countries and in regions. So as people in Latin America, so we've been putting forward ideas and proposals. We've made a lot of progress in the area of training, particularly leadership training in the school. So we've been building up experience in Latin America. So other regions of the International Via Campesina have also linked in, people from Asia, Africa, and Europe too. Other regions too. We're bringing in our experiences, so people can all bring in their own experiences. So that's a space where people can participate.
Gracias, Marlene. Okay, so thank you, Marlene. Okay, so we are approaching the end of this webinar. I'm going to offer a few highlights and conclusions based on Darwin's, Marlene, and Migdalia's great presentations. And we also wanted to mention we have received comments from Lamin that says the high quality of the presentation is a testimony to the high quality of the education in the Yalas. Congratulations on your personal achievements that enrich your communities and countries, and ultimately also our Pachamama, Mother Earth. And also we received a comment from Tim addressing solidarity, because where he is in the United Kingdom is also very dry. So we're happy that we both are receiving rain at the same time. Okay, so we wanted to highlight that, as our panelists have mentioned, that this is a process that comes from the international practice. We are La Via Campesina. La Via Campesina is an international peasant movement that is composed by farmers, farm workers, organizers, landless people, indigenous communities, peasants, fisher folk, etc. And La Via Campesina is composed by millions of these people and in organizations that are all over the world. And it is very important to highlight that in Latin America, we have developed different processes that are kind of, we say flags, banderas, are lighthouses of struggle. And one of that example is the YALA, the Latin American Agroecological Institutes that we have been learning today, because as Migdalia, Darwin, and Marlene explained, these are seeds of resistance, right? These are places where we form ourselves, where we analyze, where we practice, where we learn in community, where we support each other, and are very important to the struggle for food sovereignty, that at the end, we are all organizing for food sovereignty. And that means we want the food system to be in the hands of the people, not a handful of corporations that at the same time are exploiting every form of life. So in this sense, the YALAs give us that space to work, and also wanted to highlight the aspect of agroecology. We are not promoting any type of farming or agriculture. We're being very specific about the model that we practice, this ancestral practice. And agroecology for us is an agri-food system. It's a way of life, but also is a vehicle to organize collective power through mutual support work. And all of this, we learn it on the YALA, we practice it on the YALA, and we keep doing it when we graduate, as Migdalia and Darwin mentioned. So we wanted to highlight that this webinar is the practice of internationalism at its sense, like La Via Campesina is. I am participating from the Caribbean region. We have people from Mexico, we have people from the United Kingdom, we have people from Nicaragua. So it has been a great experience just to be joining from different parts of the world and learning together. And we wanted to take the time also to thank many people that have made this possible. We wanted to thank Marlene Sanchez for that great presentation, also Migdalia Cruz, Darwin Hernandez, Helen Ewell from the Nicaragua Solidarity Campaign, Erika Takeo from the Friends of the ATC Solidarity Network, and also and especially we wanted to thank our interpreters that are comrades also of this struggle, Ana Torres, Nils Macun, and Joel Lopez, who have been helping us during this interpretation. And then we want to finish this last few minutes of the webinar with a video that we sent the link, but we wanted to take the opportunity to end as a space of grounding, as we say, Mystica, just to add audiovisual element of our struggle, and especially about the YALA Ishimuleu in Nicaragua. And you will receive a follow-up email from Nicaragua Solidarity Campaign with the recording of this webinar. So folks, it has been a pleasure to be part of this webinar and to hear the questions and keeping the exchange of knowledge alive. This has been the webinar, Land, Agroecology, and Peasant Identity, the Experience of Young People in Nicaragua. So we're gonna leave with the video and hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.
Soy uno de los 9 hijos de una familia que siempre ha trabajado la tierra, cultivando granos básicos, hortalizas. Mamá, una madre soltera de que siempre nos enseñó a trabajar, cortando café, cortando tomates, y de esa manera pues llevábamos la comida a nuestra mesa. Mi nombre es Migdalia Esther Cruz Talavera, tengo 22 años, soy de la Asociación de Trabajadores del Campo, Jinotega, y egresada de la primera corte del IALA Ishimulem.
Bueno, el IALA antes que nada nace como una escuela de formación internacional que hace parte de la red de los institutos de agroecología promovidos por la Vía Campesina en América Latina y el Caribe.
En el IALA habíamos de diferentes países, estábamos Centroamérica, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, República Dominicana y Nicaragua.
El IALA está basado en estos principios pedagógicos que hemos construido desde los colectivos de formación de la Vía Campesina, y entre ellos pues planteamos el tema del trabajo, el tema del internacionalismo, la praxis, que es la combinación, la relación teoría-práctica.
Estar todos juntos por 45 días era, digamos, bastante bonito porque todos aprendíamos uno del otro. Era una formación integral. Los maestros nos enseñábamos, nosotros aportábamos a ellos, los hondureños daban una opinión, nosotros dábamos otra y después aprendíamos todos.
Nosotros desarrollamos una metodología de la educación popular y tenemos una modalidad de estudio de la metodología de la alternancia que tiene que ver con el tiempo presencial en la sede, pero además el tiempo comunidad.
Luego de estar 45 días en el internado, íbamos a nuestras comunidades, que también hacíamos el tiempo comunidad, que luego eso lo reportábamos al IALA, que habíamos hecho, que habíamos sembrado, cómo nos habíamos involucrado en nuestra organización o en las tareas de la familia.
El IALA, el fin del IALA, como decía, es esta formación para la militancia de las organizaciones de la CLOC, pero además nosotros hemos luchado para que estas escuelas en América Latina tengan su acreditación legal.
Cumplíamos las clases del INATEC, un horario pues recibíamos módulos, pero luego venía la parte donde nos formaban como jóvenes militantes, donde aprendíamos la coyuntura de otros países, sentíamos sus luchas sociales.
Migdalia es una mujer campesina que llegó al IALA, y su participación ahora en la organización es más activa.
Bueno, todo lo aprendido en el IALA lo estoy poniendo en práctica con mi familia. Siento que lo primero es formarte, organizarte en tu familia. Y pues ahora yo me estoy con las tareas de mi padrastro, yo le ayudo mucho en el campo, y en la parte de agroecología ya estamos implementando algunas siembras y asociaciones, qué plantas son repelentes, que nos puede ayudar a controlar plagas de una manera más ecológica. Y en la parte política, pues ahora estoy trabajando en mi comunidad como secretaria política del Frente Sandinista de Liberación Nacional. Yo me encargo de lo que es llenado de fichas para cédulas, para la gente que no tiene partida de nacimiento, y tener un control pues de la comunidad. Vamos a dar charlas sobre el dengue, de todo, pues estoy más involucrada en esa parte.
La Migdalia para nosotros ha sido una de las jóvenes que logró culminar su capacitación, ¿verdad? Su formación, y sigue pues ahí de manera voluntaria trabajando con nosotros. Ella es parte de la federación en el departamento de Jinotega. Y pues sí, siempre hemos promovido, hay más jóvenes, ¿verdad? Pero ella como mujer pues es más rica su participación, y para nosotros es más, ¿qué le digo yo? Más exitoso, porque son pocas las mujeres, se capacitan muchas, pero son pocas las mujeres que logran y alcanzan lo que Migdalia ha alcanzado.
Yo leí por ahí que dicen que cuando uno más sabe, más quiere aprender. Entonces eso es lo que estoy haciendo. Estoy estudiando un técnico en general en zootecnia, y pues estoy aprendiendo sobre manejo productivo de ganado menor y mayor. Ahorita estamos trabajando en lo que es porcinos y aves, el método de alimentación, Esto ya con una base del IALA. Nosotros ya ahí aprendimos alimentos alternativos, pues ahora lo estamos aprendiendo ya un poco en más grande escala, desde la parte familiar hasta ya un punto para negocio. Yo me veo como una persona que cumple sus sueños, que tener la tierra para sembrarla, una tierra propia, de que tiene integrado, que tiene diversificado. Veo que no dándole un nombre, ¿no? Que todos son ingenieros, que todos son licenciados, sino siendo una persona de que está trabajando la tierra, que está disfrutando lo que hace, de que tiene sus propios alimentos, que no va a un mercado, que dejó la dependencia del mercado capitalista, de ir a comprar todo y traerlo a la casa, sino que producirlo desde nuestro seno familiar.
La participación de ella para nosotros ha sido muy importante, así como la participación de muchos y muchas otras jóvenes que lograron capacitarse en todo este proceso de formación en el IALA.
Pues en la tarea que tenemos como jóvenes de recuperar todo lo que es la tierra, de recuperar nuestra identidad como jóvenes campesinos, está en nuestra familia, ¿no? Ahora que nosotros como campesinos estamos produciendo, sembrando maíz, frijoles, integrando animales a nuestros patios. Entonces aquí siempre estamos produciendo, porque si nosotros dejamos de producir la tierra no vamos a tener que comer, de esto vivimos. Entonces, normal, en paz. Y seguimos trabajando en fe y unidad, porque así es que se puede lograr salir adelante. No podemos esperar otra cosa, sino que trabajar.